Sexually harass a general and demand a date. When I was commissioned into the Air Force, the officer who conducted the ceremony was a female 3-star general. She looked like your typical short, fit, friendly middle-aged soccer mom, relevant to the story, extremely nice and personable, and an alumna of my university. At breakfast beforehand we were sharing a table, and she and my dad, a lieutenant colonel at the time, were talking. The general told a story of when she first showed up to a new base for her first posting as 3-star. While running on the track, a guy comes up and starts to run alongside, asking if she had just got there, etc. It quickly becomes very obvious he's hitting on her, so she turns him down and mentions she has a husband. He is not deterred, and keeps on hitting on her. The man goes right on talking about how in shape she is, how good looking she is, how they should get together, etc. Also asking questions like, well, is your husband at the base yet? Are you staying by yourself in the TLF? TLF being a fancy sort of hotel. He thinks she's a spouse, and figures she showed up to get the home in order before her husband arrives. He really wants to hang out, preferably at her hotel room, nor will he leave her alone until she agrees to a date. Finally, after about 15 minutes of him refusing to stop badgering her, she relents and agrees to meet up with him again. Fine. I'll free up some time and we can talk. What's your name and number? The harasser gives her his name and phone number. He's a staff sergeant many rungs down in the organization she's now vice commander of. Later that day he was ordered to report to her office, in service dress, at 0730 the next morning, along with his supervisor, his first sergeant, and his commander. So basically, his boss, his other boss, and his boss's boss's boss. She didn't say how the meeting went, but I doubt he enjoyed his date.
Now to the comments. I would have loved to be there just to see his face.
You think he might have connected the dots by then, or would it have hit him like a brick? LOL.
What's this Dependa doing in her hubby's uniform, mother ducker? This is the best undercover boss episode ideas ever.
Hey, a couple of the other recruits and I think you look just like the Commandant of the Marine Corps. General David Berger sweats nervously.
Karen Wren pulls out lightsaber. She turns him down and mentions she has a husband. He is not deterred, and keeps on hitting on her. Gross. I don't understand people like this. Where were your parents?
Some of the guys and women I met in the Air Force and out a married woman/man was not a deterrent but a challenge.
Not in the Air Force/military, but I traveled to oil refineries for work and ran into people with the same stupidity. I finally just ended up as saying my marital status was happily married in a non-cheating kind of way, and some people gave up. The ones I didn't, I just started to talk about my latest crochet project in great detail, ignoring anything they were saying, and eventually they went away. It's too bad all sexual harassers don't have the same experience.
I ducking know, right? When I was at the university, there was this student that wanted me, climbed a lightning pole just to reach a roof that led to my room's window while I was pretending not to be home. A lot of people find this story funny, because I'm a male and she's a girl.
I'm sorry they reacted that way. Unwanted attention, and in this case probably stalking, is not okay regardless of who is in what role. TLF being a fancy sort of hotel. Maybe if you're a 3-star. TLF is more like a meh hotel in a safe neighborhood.
OP replied. Ha. Accurate. There is a world of difference between junior enlisted, officer, and general TLF. I once saw a 4 stars on a major installation. It was basically a house.
Wouldn't a flag officer be put in the DV queue for temporary housing, or is it different in the Air Force? Well, he got ducked. So. Win.
He definitely ended up the ducky.
Yeah, there's already a top, so he must be the bottom. Being enlisted myself, I can guarantee that no matter what the staff sergeant accomplishes, this 3-star debacle will be the highlight of his career, and that story will be told a disrespectful amount of time over beers. That staff sergeant is a double idiot, because when a new 3-star hits base, everyone should already know what they look like. Unless this is a thing only Marines do. Edit had to make a word worse.
Nah. I would barely even recognize my own CO or XO most of the places I was sent.
The last office I worked in, we went through a couple of first shirts. The very last I not didn't know what he looked like. I didn't even know his name. Jesus Christ. Imagine ducking up that bad that your command team has to be present for the shitstorm. Morgan Freeman's voice. It was at this moment he knew he ducked up. Yeah. We all look the same in gym clothes, no matter how high up we are in the hierarchy.
And the soccer mom thing too. Hollywood skews expectations, but in reality, so many people just end up looking suburban when they're not in uniform.
I once met the chief of my country's combined armed forces at a buffet. The only person outranking him is the commander-in-chief, our king, yet outside of his uniform he looks like the cool uncle who always brings too much food to barbecues. A very similar thing happened at a military base I used to work on as a civilian. The lady in charge was an Army COL, and about a week after she arrived, she and her family were in a local restaurant/bar sort of thing, and 2 Marines tried to pick her up as she got drinks for her table. They went on and on about how important they were because they were NCOs. I don't know how it turned out, but I bet in the official change of command ceremony later on they might have had a bit of regret. Similarly, I was in the lunch hall and someone saw her walk by, in uniform, and one guy asked his friend, "Who's the bird?" I was new to working with the military and was surprised an American was using the British slang term for a lady. He wasn't.
Bird as in bird colonel?
Full bird. Since adultery is prohibited in UCMJ, can the staff sergeant be reprimanded for persisting after knowing she is married?
OP replied. He probably just got an LOC, letter of counseling, and a referral EPR, enlisted performance report. As far as formal punishment goes, basically a black mark on his career, but not an unrecoverable one. The non-formal punishment was more than likely all the shitty details/shifts for a couple of months.
An LOC will not get him a referral EPR. Almost everything you've been saying about the Air Force leads me to believe you are extremely new and don't really understand the Air Force. When your boss is asked to show up with you, you know you're in trouble. When his boss is also asked, you know you need a lawyer. When his boss is also asked, you need witness protection, LOL. I'm going to guess the SSGT probably didn't get that step promotion to tech. When I was at Malmstrom, the commissary was packed on Saturday, especially paydays. You know, lot of times the meat rack would be almost picked cleaned by 3 p.m. One Saturday someone in civvies rang the buzzer at the service window about 3 p.m. in the meat market. Butcher answered and man in civvies told him there were no steaks left and could he bring some out. Butcher told he should have gotten there sooner because they don't stock anything after 1 and slammed the window in the man's face. Butcher didn't see the radio in the man's hands, nor did he notice he had just slammed the window on the new wing commander. After that day there was almost live cattle in the cooler on Saturdays. Never heard what happened to the butcher.
Probably nothing if he was a civilian. They are all but untouchable.
Well, I am sure he got a good talking to, Because there was always plenty of stuff out after that, but you are right, sure hard to get rid of them. I think that is why commanders let it go, too much trouble to get rid of them. I heard stories of women who get approached by men and they shared how uneasy they feel when they get approached. Then there were comments about how being approached is fine, because how else someone who is interested in you will know if they have a chance. But, here come so many caveats. 1. They should approach in a respectful manner. 2. They should respect the other person's right to say no, and retreat if indicated that way, which was not the case here. Now, if someone approaches someone adhering to above 2 points, still if I put myself in women's shoes, I will be annoyed, because it is tiring being approached so many times, and denying so many guys. It gets tiring and annoying. Just like we get annoyed when at some restaurants, those managers won't stop asking how is the food, despite asking it very politely. So, best one can expect is approach, but politely. Women, it's annoying, but that's the best way out there. I was asking for opinions, that's why I wrote so much.
The how's the food is a good example to use so men can understand how women feel, how the way you're approached, how insistent the approach is, how demanding it is can make women feel. I'm an Aussie, so I don't know if this is a worldwide thing, but I use those paintball or monthly charity sales people you find in the middle of the walkways in shopping centers as an example. They hard sell you, try to get you in by asking you an off-topic question about something you're wearing or carrying, something to catch you off guard whilst also stepping out in front of you, blocking your path. When you answer, they pump other questions at you, then start using your answers against you. I.e., if you're on your way to the footy, the game doesn't start for another hour, it only takes 5 minutes to walk there from here, so you should have some extra time to talk. They then go on with their I just want to save the children that are raped and beaten. Don't you? Don't you feel bad spending $10 on a drink when that money to stop a child from being raped? Before you know it, you're signing up to something even though your bills are overdue and Tommy needs new school shoes. So next time they try, you just say nope and walk around them. Not engaging at all. Not even answering their innocent question about where you got your nails done. Suddenly, you look like a witch because they didn't even say anything yet and you're already giving them the cold shoulder. But you know where that convo was going and you don't want to sign up, so it's best to cut it off before it even gets going.
We've got those all over New York. Yesterday one stepped in front of my path and asked me if I am a good person, trying to engage for one of those children's charities. I kept my momentum to step around him and said, "Good luck, kid." Now that you mention it, I probably respond to men similarly. I don't understand how a direct rejection is translated into a sort of perverse game for some men. Oh, you're married? Challenge accepted. No, move on please.